Gonna do this motion? Okay. Good evening, colleagues and citizens. Welcome to the March 12th, 2015 board meeting of the Prince George's County Board of Education. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, we apologize for getting out here just a little behind schedule, but we're fortunate to have finished some real important business and ready for business with you this evening. Before we begin, as always, please make sure you check those phones again, put them on vibrate, put them on silent, turn them off, so that they will not interfere with the taping of the meeting. Ms. Eubanks, would you please lead us in the board prayer and pledge of allegiance?
O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, steer us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Eubanks. Mrs. Parker, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Dr. Anderson? Mr. Burrows? Here. Ms. Epps?
Here.
Ms. Eubanks?
Here.
Ms. Grady? Ms. Hernandez?
Present.
Ms. Jacobs? Here. Dr. Kaufman? Here. Ms. Mundy? Mr. Valentine? Here. Ms. Williams?
Present.
Mr. Taylor?
Present.
Ms. Boston?
Present.
Dr. Eubanks?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, in adopting the agenda, I think we may have one or two quick changes. Ms. Jacobs?
Thank you. Move public comment on non-agenda items with public comment on agenda items.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. There are no speakers? Would anyone like to speak so that we can make this motion valid? All right. I was wondering where my sheet was. Okay. That motion is not necessary. We have another motion. Ms. Boston.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to amend the agenda to move 5.1 under the consent agenda to 6.7 on the budget consent agenda.
It's been moved. May I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Colleagues, may I please have a motion to adopt the March 12, 2015 board meeting agenda as amended? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? We've adopted the agenda. Colleagues, may I please have a motion to approve the February 24th, 2015 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. On one abstention, that motion carries. It is now time for our news break entitled A Graduation Ceremony.
It seemed that there were an especially large number of students graduating from Prince George's County High Schools last spring. It wasn't your imagination. Recently released data confirmed that the graduation rate was the highest in at least 5 years, rising 2.5% from last year to 76.6. That welcome statistic, reaching across all demographic groups, can be credited to schools pulling out all the stops to get diplomas in hand. At some of the high schools, like Dr. Henry Wise, which saw a graduation surge of nearly 5%, a commitment to graduate ceremony, dubbed the senior inauguration, let students pledge before their parents and each other that they'd do everything necessary to graduate and go on to lead lives of distinction.
I promise to graduate, fulfill my potential, and be a productive member of society.
And if those seniors needed any additional reminder of the seriousness of that vow, an Olympic-style medal was draped around their neck.
It was a commitment to myself and to helping my classmates know that we're going to graduate in due time. No matter how much we fall, there's someone that's there to pick us up, and we all have to look out for each other and not for ourselves.
So when you walk across the stage to get that, you going to wear that medallion?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Yeah. It's a reminder to myself that I made that commitment.
The power of setting a common expectation and having the students pledge and vow that they're going to do whatever it takes to graduate really is an amazing program to be a part of.
For Principal Oscar Coleman, recently arrived at Wise from Central High School, where the graduation rate rose a county best of 9%, the inaugural I Do's represent just one of the many strategies he and his principal colleagues are using to motivate and monitor would-be graduates. By surrounding himself with student ambassadors, for instance, who assist their classmates academically, and taking off his suit coat occasionally to sink a few baskets, Mr. Coleman builds the kind of personal relationships that drive graduation success.
Mr. Coleman is extremely interactive. I can tell that he loves what he does. He loves the students. He's in the hallways 24/7. I never see him in his office. He always says good morning to everybody. He has a smile on his face. So I love him.
Beyond an attentive principal, there are also safety nets and early warning systems to keep Wise students, and indeed those throughout Prince George's County, on track to graduate.
One of the safety nets we have is the senior contract, and it's basically a paper with your graduation requirements. Like if you need your service hours, it'll have how many service hours you need to graduate. It has the credits you need to graduate. For me, I only have 4 credits left, and I have all my service hours.
So to date, you have earned 26 credits, and to date, you have earned 23 credits.
Those senior contracts with their credit counts and service hour tallies are yet another commitment by students to take responsibility for their graduation, and another form of oversight by those who care that they do.
You did very well on your assessments, got a total of 1307, so you have now met the high school assessment requirement.
Yay.
Yay!
You put your name on that contract. This is a good contract. How's it make you feel?
It actually makes me feel great knowing that I've been here for 4 years and I'm actually making something of myself. So finally I'm ready to leave and on to the next level.
And for those struggling to reach that next level because of failed or missing courses, graduation is still possible through blended learning classes. Students across the county can now recover credit through a unique mix of self-paced online courses that have an actual teacher on site to answer questions. It's an efficient, cost-saving strategy that works.
Most of the students actually pass with a C or better on these courses, and a lot of them have gained they've actually recovered the credit that they've missed in the past. This is our second semester doing it with the blended learning. Before, the students used the program individual from the school, so they would pay for the class. They would actually take the course at home, on their tablets, on their phones. And we had a success rate, but it wasn't as high as it is now because they actually get the blended portion, which is with the teacher in the classroom with them.
Is this making a difference for you?
Yes, it is. It really is. Just because, like I said, with the whole lecturing thing, I'm really not very good with that. I'm a hands-on type person. I like to be able to, go back just so I don't miss anything. It really helps you, like being able to, get that like extra note or two, or maybe if you need it. That really, like, when it comes to, like, the quizzes and stuff, that grade matters, so it really helps with the grades in the end,
So are you going to graduate?
Yes, very much so.
So before next year's pomp, there will be plenty of circumstance in Prince George's County high schools as students are finding multiple paths to that coveted diploma.
The teachers, the principals, the vice principals, everybody is just so loving and warm. There's nobody that's mean, or there's nobody that puts you down. There's nobody that that says you can't do it. Everybody here at Wise is you can do it. They give you options, and even if you don't take those options, they give you more options on top of options to make sure that you pick at least something.
Congratulations to all the high schools, but especially to those with the highest percentage increase in their graduation rates. Central, Forestville, Laurel, Dr. Henry Wise, Parkdale, Largo, and Bladensburg. For Channels 96 and 38, this is Dave Zarin.
Another great story of success, pop quiz. Graduation rates rose by how much?
Overall, 2.47%, 8.02 for special education, and, you know, we could go on, I suppose.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that great presentation. Again, greatness happening in Prince George's County every day. We'll move on now to my chair's report. I will start, as always, by remembering and honoring the lives lost of our friends and family members. I have two to share with you today. I want to ask you to join me in a moment of silence, first for Mr. Mark Medley, the brother of Ruby Sesker of our Supporting Services Division, and while not a member of our immediate Prince George's County Public Schools family, I know many of you know that we lost a public service citizen and police officer in the line of duty this week, and so I want to also ask you to have a moment of silence for Brennan Rabin, who passed this week. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. A couple of notes about great activities going on sponsored by the board. Just last night, we hosted the first of 3 Common Core events yesterday at Charles Herbert Flowers High School, where parents received information on the standards for reading and English language arts and mathematics. There were opportunities for parents to learn about the new Park assessments and how Prince George's County Public Schools is preparing students for success on the new assessments and on the new and challenging curriculum. This stuff is so very important for our parents to be engaged in. I can tell you that I was a little ashamed as an educator when my daughter came home last week and said, "Dad, I hate the Common Core." 11th grader at Suitland, she didn't know she was, some teacher told her something, and so I had to pull this curriculum up and give my daughter some. So very important that we let our parents and our students know just what we're doing to challenge them academically and challenge them for success. And also special thanks to my friend and colleague, Carolyn Boston, who really is the leader and spearheader of organizing these tremendous activities. The next one is Wednesday, April 1st at Laurel High School. So mark your calendars and please come out. For additional information, check out the website, pgcps.org, or contact the board office for more information. Again, any of you who know of parents who can use this information, please come out. We really need folks to come out to these events. The parents who come out, there's not enough of them, but those who come out thank us profusely for the important and valuable information that we're providing. All right, I want to give some kudos first to some students. I'm going to I have to get on my board staff's case later on. You got to give me some spelling some pronunciation instructions. I'm going to get it right though. For our Scholar of the Week, and her name is Nihenlolu Fatinakun. How's that? Is she here somewhere? Who knows her? Tell me how to pronounce her name. Everyone, first test, find this young lady's pronunciation name and share it with everybody else. Find this young man's name and share it with someone else. Thank you. At least my student member knows. So this young man, Nihenlolu, maintains a 3.9 cumulative GPA and has completed coursework in AP Government, AP English Language, AP World History, AP Literature, AP Calculus, and English Expository. He's applied to Yale, Johns Hopkins, and the United States Naval Academy, and plans to major in biological sciences in order to become a cardiothoracic surgeon. I know I can't even say cardiothoracic, much less the young man's name. Congratulations, Nihin Lolu, for your exemplary academic performance. Give him a hand. All right. Congratulations also to 16 Prince George's County Public School teachers who have been nominated for the 2015 Prince George's County Teacher of the Year Award, organized by Maryland State Department of Education. The Maryland Teacher of the Year program recognizes the work being done by the state's outstanding teachers. Drawing from a pool of nominees representing each county, one individual teacher is selected for the honor of representing Maryland in the National Teacher of the Year competition. The Prince George's County Public School Teacher of the Year will be announced on April 23rd. Good luck to all the nominees and congratulations on a job well done. And while not on here, I think the number is 19. We had 19 teachers who achieved National Board certification recently. And National Board certification is the highest recognition of accomplished teaching that this country has to offer, and we offer some great supports here in Prince George's County for those teachers, so congratulations for those teachers who achieved National Board. My colleagues in PGCEA always do great jobs both supporting them and recognizing their achievements. Our next meeting is March 26th at 7:05 p.m., and that board meeting will be held at the Suitland High School auditorium. People interested in speaking at the meeting of the board, please register with the Board of Education 2.5 hours prior to the meeting by calling 301-925-6115. Again, this is, I think, a big deal for us to go out in the community. We're going to go to Suitland and really recognize the great work being done right out there in the field on our March 26th board meeting, so please come out and join us. That concludes my chair's remarks, and I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Maxwell, for your report. You're excited about going to Suitland too, aren't you?
I'm very excited about going to Suitland. Absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity. So good evening, everyone. Our park administration is underway, and you can imagine it is no small feat to prepare the 208 sites for the 90,000 students who have already or will take the test in our two 20-day windows. Tonight, I would like to thank wholeheartedly the Division of Information Technology, our principals, our site testing coordinators, the alternate site testing coordinators, teachers, and everyone else who has worked hard to prepare our school system for this new assessment. Thank you to our parents who took the time to attend the information sessions at our schools and send their student to school prepared to take the assessments. I know it hasn't been easy implementing a new process during a difficult winter season, but I'm pleased with our smooth rollout. So once again, thanks to all for the hard work and careful preparation. I'd like also to recognize a few students, Dr. Eubanks, and schools from around the district. First, in a surprise win, the Eleanor Roosevelt High School debate team defeated 122 other teams from across the nation in the National Liberty Bell Classic Debate Tournament hosted by the University of Pennsylvania. Debating the topic, Economic Globalization Benefits Worldwide Poverty Reduction, varsity debaters Vinay Rechkanda and Donovan Harvey brought home victory. Vinay and Donovan are now ranked as one of the top 50 public forum debate teams in the country and hold the number 8 spot in our state. We are crossing our fingers that they receive a bid to go to the Tournament of Champions next month. 17 of our students have been selected to perform at the conclusion of the annual Maryland Music Educators Conference. Students from Thomas Pullen Academy, Robert Goddard French Immersion, BOE, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Northwestern High Schools participated in a rigorous audition process with 7,000 of their fellow students from across the state to earn their spot in the performance. It's music to my ears that we have such a large contingent of our students selected to perform at the conference. Finally, March Madness is upon us, not just at our college level, but right here in Prince George's County. Tonight at 7 p.m., our Duval Tigers take on the Bethesda Chevy Chase Barons in the men's basketball state semifinals, and our Forestville Lady Knights defeated the Pocomoke High School Warriors in the women's state semifinal game last evening. Congratulations to the Forestville Lady Knights, and good luck to Duval tonight. Last, tomorrow, the county executive will release his budget, and we are waiting with great anticipation to see the funding approach for our school district. As I've said before, we all need to work together to ensure our legislators, whether at the state or the county level, understand that we are at a pivotal moment in our progress as a district and that adequate funding is essential to ensuring that we continue our forward progress. To that end, I'd like to remind members of the community here today and watching at home that you can attend a budget forum to learn more about our budget proposal and how you can help. The next sessions are Monday, March 16th at the Bowie Performing Arts Center, Tuesday, March 17 at Central High School, and our final session Tuesday, March 24 at Frederick Douglass High School. All sessions will run from 6:30 to about 7:30. Thank you for your attention, and this concludes my report for the evening, Dr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. We're on to the legislative agenda, so I will now yield the floor to Associate General Counsel Demetria Tobias for our legislative report.
Good evening and happy almost spring. Pleasure to be before you this evening. This is actually going to be a very short presentation. I'm going to provide you just with a very brief update on primarily the budget situation. You have a copy in my report of the testimony that we have submitted on the board's behalf since your last board meeting. If there are any questions, let me know. In addition, you have a breakdown of the status of the local bills that were filed implicating the Board of Education. And so far, 5 of those bills have received unfavorable reports, which is good for us. The other 5 that are still in play, 3 of those you supported with amendment, 1 you opposed, and 1 you took no position on. So I'll be sure to update you on the status of those bills at your next meeting as well. Turning to the budget, the state is, as you know, in the thick of its budget review process, as is the county. And on yesterday afternoon, the House Appropriations Education Committee made their budget decisions. We're pleased to announce that the committee voted to restore the per pupil funding amount that was cut in the governor's budget, which for our school system means an additional almost $13 million. Very good news. It's the first step in probably a 3 to 4 step process, but it's an important step nonetheless, because obviously that money, every dollar counts for us. The subcommittee decided they actually decided to agree to the delay in phase-in for the net taxable income, which for us would have been $5 million next year. So at this point, that money has not been restored, but I say at this point because that language is important. The next step will be for the full committee on tomorrow to vote not only on the restoration of the funds that was decided on yesterday, but each of the Appropriations Committee subcommittees will be reporting to the full committee tomorrow. What that means, and I think this is probably not news to any of you, but House Speaker Bush has been crystal clear in his communication with stakeholders, advocates, and the public that the House intends to pass a plan that fully restores education cuts. And so the full expectation on tomorrow is that there will be money found from other transfers, reductions, et cetera, that will be that will be fully known on tomorrow, because the piece that the Education Committee handled on yesterday truly doesn't cover everything, but we're expecting the full report to the committee on tomorrow. This includes possibly and significantly restoration of GCEI funding, which is $20 million for us. So again, it all remains to be seen what the full committee will decide to do. That vote will then be before the full House on next week. And once the House passes its plan, it has to go across the street to the Senate and find agreement there. There is some expectation that there will be, a disagreement on maybe perhaps some of the transfers or changes, and that the final decisions will be made in conference committee. But both the Senate leadership and the House leadership has been very clear that education is their top priority. So we are cautiously optimistic that we will see very close to full restoration of the education funding. So stay tuned, and I'll be sure to bring you an update at your next meeting. I think the last thing that I wanted to add to you, just as an FYI on budget, the Board of Revenue Estimates updated their projections for revenue next year on yesterday, and there has been no change, which is good or bad depending on how you look at it, but it means that there's no new money that they found, but it also means that there's not less money either. So revenue projections remain flat, which means that at this point the governor is not looking to have extra money to add to the budget. It's really going to be a process to work with the money that that's already there in what he's proposed. So do stay tuned. We are working, like I said, diligently behind the scenes, meeting with leadership, stakeholders, continuing our advocacy, and we are just truly very fortunate to have people in our delegation and in the state across the board, across the aisles, Democratic, Republican, small districts, large districts, who value education funding and are fighting on our behalf. So I'll be sure to come with an update for you at your next board meeting. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Questions? Any questions? Let me start with a quick one, and then maybe folks will buzz in if they have others. I read just really great job in how you outline both our support and our opposition. So a couple of them, the charter school bill, we didn't vote on that formally, but that opposition, I'm assuming, was a result of what's in our legislative platform.
Yes.
I want you to walk us through that if you can, and talk about what you know about the charter school bill and what's going on with that.
Great question. Thank you. Yes. So just as a quick reminder, there are many positions that you had already taken in your legislative platform, and what that allows us to do is to be able to take positions on your behalf very quickly and submitting testimony without having to bring the bills to you at each board meeting. So what the charter school bill that has been introduced is a comprehensive change to the existing charter school law. There are about probably 7 or 8 major categories of changes, but just going off the top of my head, among other things, what the bill would do would be to allow charter schools to have their own collective bargaining units and not to be a part of the organizations that we currently have in our school system. It would allow the State Board of Education to be an independent authorizer, bypassing, in essence, this board as the charter authorizer. It would allow charter schools to apply for a wholesale waiver of pretty much all state laws that govern public schools, with the exception of anything that impacts health, safety, or civil rights of students and assessments. But it's they can seek a wholesale waiver from state regulations. They would be able to hire teachers who are not certificated or who meet the other public schools teaching standards. They would be eligible for funding for a CIP money, even if they're in a privately owned building. Importantly, funding, commensurate funding. The schools would be eligible to receive, I think it's 98% of the per pupil funding that any other public school receives in the district. There are many, many, many concerns with each of the maybe 6 or 7 things that I've just outlined there for you. Certainly not all of those are deal breakers, so to speak, but in your platform, you've already taken a position on things such as teacher qualifications, the local school board as the authorizer for charter schools, accountability, holding these schools to the same accountability standards in terms of finances or teacher qualifications as other public schools are held. So the position that we took on your behalf was in alignment with your platform, and we opposed the bill as written based on what we already have. Now, the Education Subcommittee met just yesterday on this bill. It was a lengthy discussion, and they weren't even able to finish. There wasn't a vote. It was just a walkthrough of what the bill says versus what the Hogan administration intends for it to say. And the bottom line is that there are a lot of amendments that are expected to be introduced to the bill because there are too many weaknesses in it. And that's the consensus across the board. So the subcommittee is expected to discuss either, I think, tomorrow or next week, the funding piece, and then we'll be voting on the bill shortly thereafter. So I'll have a better update for you at the next meeting. Let me also add the other bill that you may be aware of, on which we also took a position for you, is the post-Labor Day start bill, which was is being championed by our comptroller and some of the school systems who are really interested in allowing additional money to enter the economy through tourism and an extended summer. But school systems have, most of us have come out in opposition to that bill, as have MABE and PAZAM, and we took a position on your behalf on that bill as well. So the crossover date will be March 23rd, and that's the date by which each chamber has to send over the bills that it intends to pass favorably. So it's at that point where we'll really be able to see which bills have legs, and you'll see an updated report of the bills that have passed and how it can impact us.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I don't see anyone else buzzing in for questions. Last chance? Okay, thank you. Mr. Burrows.
Thank you for the work that you're doing in Annapolis. I know it's not easy and ever-changing. I would ask that in the future on large bills like the Labor Day is a big bill. I know we have a platform, but something as large as the Labor Day start time or as large as the charter schools, before we take a big position on that, to let the board discuss it, because these are bills that the governor is involved, the comptroller is involved, and they're not unique to Prince George. These are bills that my colleagues and I really should talk about, discuss in public. So any large bills like that moving forward, I would appreciate if they came before the full board.
Okay.
Thank you. You said that 3 bills have received an unfavorable report. Can you specify which ones?
5, yes.
Oh, 5.
So looking at the under the local bill update, the bills that have received an unfavorable are PG 406, that's regarding the use of school property. That's the first one. Then turning on to page 2, PG 409, PG 412, PG 421, and PG 314. Those are the ones that received unfavorable. You're welcome. The 5 that are still active then are the turf fields bill, which is PG 407, the county-based business participation bill, which is 408, the credit card bill, which is 411, the new Construction Investment Act bill, which is 413, and the Youth Wellness Leadership Pilot bill, which is 424. You're welcome.
All right. I think we're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank
Go
you.
back and keep doing good work for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we're on to, again, no public speakers today, so we're on to item 4.0. I'll yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction to item 4.1, which is student achievement and our specialty programs.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sean Joseph, who will introduce staff members that will be providing an overview of the specialty programs tonight.
Well, good evening. We are extremely excited to be here tonight to talk about our specialty programs, because here in Prince George's County, we have a diverse portfolio of schooling and programming options within the district, and it's a portfolio that we're extremely proud of. So tonight you'll have an opportunity to hear about the 14 different programming options that we have within our district. Now, typically when school districts talk about specialty programs or magnet programs, they're talking about, you know, a highly selective, competitive, small group of programs that are extremely difficult to get in. And, you know, Dr. Maxwell and Dr. Davis and I have all been principals of schools that have had these programs. So we know every spring there's this range of emotions that exists with parents. So those parents that get into the programs, you know, those parents and students that are on waiting lists, and those parents and students that are denied access to programs. And, you know, our challenge is to make sure that every parent within our district feels like there's a strong, viable option for their children. You know, particularly, you know, our students who have specific interests or have specific academic needs. We want to make sure that whatever school they go to, that they feel that their students' needs can be met. You know, so here in Prince George's County, as we're thinking about our strategy to continue to increase our offerings of diverse portfolio of schooling and programming options, our CEO has been extremely clear to us. He wants to make sure that there are high-quality programs in all schools for all children. The budget that he's introduced to you and the budget that you have approved and sent over to the County Executive's Office speaks to that commitment and vision for increasing opportunities for all students over time. As we think about this concept of specialty programs and expanding specialty programs, one challenge that we know we face is how to equitably ensure that we're investing in high-quality programs at each of our schools. And as a board, you've made a bold investment embarking on the journey to ensure that all of our high schools have signature programs in them to allow them to increase opportunities and explore multiple career paths. And our system's continued strategic investment in our elementary and middle schools will help us overcome the current equity challenges that we face. So this year, we've established a team which has been charged with researching and developing our approach to increase equity access and quality programs throughout our school district. You know, currently, we have over 34,500 students enrolled in all of our specialty programs, and our goal is to continue to increase the high-quality programming within our community. So now I'd like to invite Ms. Latifa Durant, our academic officer, to the podium, and she's going to introduce our presentation team and review the objectives for tonight's presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair of the Board of Education, Dr. Eubanks, Vice Chair, Ms. Boston, members of the Board of Education, members of Executive Cabinet, as well as members of the community. We're excited about this opportunity to present information on specialty programs in Prince George's County Public Schools. And your presenters for this evening are myself, Mrs. Latifa Durant, Academic Officer, Mrs. Pamela Smith, Coordinating Supervisor for Career Academy Programs, Dr. Kyra Libby, Director of Academic Programs, and we also have members from our teaching and learning team that assisted in preparing the presentation for this evening. And I'm going to ask if all the members of teaching and learning would please stand. Thank you. As you can see, this is definitely a team and a group effort. They'll be available to answer questions following the presentations related to their respective areas. The purpose of today's overview is to provide the Board of Education with an understanding of the specialty programs available to our students, the barriers that we face, and our vision for the future. In addition to the presentation this evening, you have the specialty program overview booklet that was provided to each of the board members. In this document, you will find additional information on our specialty programs, including program locations, program highlights, community partnerships, as well as demographic information. Now, we all have children in our lives, whether they are our children, our grandchildren, nieces, nephews, students, and we know that each of them is special. And we know this, it's not something that we can measure on a test, but we know it by our interactions with them. And for those who have taught in a classroom or who've raised 2 children in the same household, you know that no 2 children are ever alike. Specialty programs help us to uncover what is special in every child. But in order to prepare for the future, we first must understand their history. Now, in 1985, PGCPS adopted magnet programs with race-based admissions. This was done to encourage the voluntary desegregation of schools. 15 years later, in 2000, PGCPS was no longer obligated to follow race-based admissions. This freedom allowed the district to redefine its magnet programs as choice programs. And under this new structure, after a couple of years, the district evaluated the array of programs offered in 2005 and streamlined those program offerings. In 2006, these program offerings became known as specialty programs. And these specialty programs continue on today. Now, I would like to turn the presentation over to Dr. Libby.
Thank you. Good evening. Under Dr. Maxwell's leadership, the transition report highlighted several strategies needed for systemic improvements for our specialty programs that included monitoring, implementation, and evaluation of our current specialty programs, along with researching new models. The strategy team for specialty programs was formed by Dr. Joseph in January 2015, and we have been asked to develop a 5-year proposal to develop specialty programs that will address our infrastructure, elementary and middle school feeder patterns, evaluate our current programs, research new models, and also look at our monitoring and implementation strategies. Specialty programs today provide options in addition to the comprehensive curriculum, are designed to address the needs and interests of parents and students, allow for the exploration and development of interest while following state and school system mandates. We have 2 types of specialty programs in Prince George's County: school-based in-boundary, which are whole school programs. Every child within the school boundary participates. And we have selection-based system-wide, which includes whole school or program within a school, and students must submit an application, audition, test, and/or take part in a lottery. This evening, we're going to begin with our in-boundary specialty programs. So we have science, technology, engineering, math, arts for STEM and STEAM at 2 of our middle schools, International Baccalaureate, primary and middle years programs, arts integration, and language immersion. We wanted to share with you our enrollment data per in-boundary program, and the data is also in your overview booklet beginning on page 16. I would like to introduce to you Mr. John Shishini, Arts Integration Officer, to come to the podium to give you a brief introduction to our newest specialty program, Arts Integration. If you would like additional information on arts integration, please see page 5 in your overview booklet.
Good evening, everyone. Arts Integration is one of our newest programs. It is a whole school program where we teach in and through the arts when there's a connection between the arts and other content areas. There are 15 pilot schools that are geographically and demographically diverse. These are all art-rich schools. Let's watch a brief video of what's happening in our arts integration schools.
Out of 1 out of 10, it's probably a 10.
Students may not know the term arts integration, but they know that its arrival in their school means learning can be fun. Arts integration is currently in 15 pilot schools in all areas of the county and covering all grade levels. This teaching method is a proven research-based program that improves student achievement in every content area by teaching through the arts. When a lesson teaches students skills that apply at both content areas, this is an example of arts integration doing what it's intended to do. The skills learned with arts integration are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity, all of which are apparent when seeing arts integration at work in these pilot schools.
It gives us structure. It gives us a target, and that's what the difference is. Knowing that we have a topic or a target, really, it's not all over the place. And I think with the teachers, we need more structure and something that's well defined. And being part of the arts integration program, it's more defined.
Just to see the teachers so engaged with the project and think out of the box, because that's what education is a lot today is, you know, thinking differently than we did before and utilizing these opportunities. And I'm fortunate enough to have a great staff here at Oxon Hill Middle School that are open to these new technologies, these new ways of thinking.
You can extend the lesson in a way that is flavorful, maybe, that is pictorially delightful. But the main thing is it captures the children's imagination and they understand the concept right there. And that's what arts integration is really all about.
You don't have math all by itself when you get into the real world. You don't have theater all by itself when you get into the real world. So that's what school has to start to imitate, and it has to, and education has to teach kids that everything is interconnected.
It makes teaching fun again. I've been teaching for 12 years, and it just seemed to kind of like drag yourself in. But when you're integrating arts in the classroom and you see how excited the kids get, it really makes you excited as a teacher.
There are several students inside my room now that have gone from being disinterested in parts of their lesson to leading their group. And it's provided many access points for many different children in many different ways.
It makes learning more fun because, well, it gives you a chance to act out things that you want to do, and it gives you like motivation to do extracurricular activities.
It was fun to me because to me it made learning much more easier, and it helped me remember a little bit, because when onomatopoeia is a word that's long and you can't exactly remember it, so I remember it. I can remember by making my hand movements.
The collection of data, because we have to show that it's cool to do the wonderful lessons, but we have to show the educational impact that is tied into that.
This is just the beginning of arts integration with PGCPS. Look for even more coming to a school near you.
And we have the principals from Ardmore Elementary School and Oakland Elementary School, Georgette, George, and Audrey Briscoe. If you can stand, and thank you for being pioneers.
Thank you.
And Ms. Clowers is here as well. Thank you.
Now we will continue to highlight information on our other in-boundary programs. For International Baccalaureate, we opened primary years programs for grades K through 4 at Melwood Elementary and John Hanson French Immersion this school year. And we opened middle years program at Dwight D. Eisenhower Middle School. For language immersion, we have Capitol Heights and Paint Branch as our new in-boundary immersion programs. These are STEM-based programs in which the language is taught through STEM courses. Capitol Heights has Spanish and Paint Branch has Chinese. For our STEM and STEAM programs that began this school year, the schools have several exciting initiatives, as you could see highlighted in the video. Our two middle schools are Oxon Hill and Thomas Johnson, and both schools will have arts integration next school year. Oxon Hill currently has arts integration. These are our in-boundary programs, and now we will begin to discuss our selection-based programs, and I will turn the presentation over to my colleague, Mrs. Smith.
Good evening. This slide indicates our 6 processes for selection-based programs. Our first process is application only, such as our Career Academy programs. 2, application audition, refers to our visual and performing arts and creative performing arts. 3, application and state guidelines, such as our career and technical education programs. 4, application and lottery, which refers to programs such as our language immersion. 5, application and tests, such as the science and technology program. And the final application test and lottery refers to our talented and gifted programs. This slide here represents all of our selection-based programs. We will highlight information on all of the selection-based programs on subsequent slides. This slide represents an enrollment total for each individual selection-based program. You will also find additional information in your overview book beginning on page 18. The Academy of Health Sciences at Prince George's Community College. This year, in May of 2015, we will graduate our first graduating class from the Academy of Health Sciences. We are so proud to announce that 100% of those graduating seniors will be receiving both their AA degree and their high school diploma. We congratulate the class of 2015 for their outstanding accomplishments. Aerospace Engineering and Aviation Technology. This is our newest program, which launched in August of this school year at Duval High School. We have several partners to include NASA Goddard and the College Park Aviation Museum. One of our instructors of the program is a former Air Force pilot, and he also has an education background in aerospace engineering. The other is a Tuskegee Associate Youth Pilot Trainer. Our career academies. All of our comprehensive high schools offer at least one career academy in their high school. You will find a table on page 21 in your overview book that will give you a detailed listing of their locations and the different academies that we offer. Our career academies are currently 4-year programs of study. Career and technical education, technical academy programs. Within our career academies, we also have 2-year career academy programs. All of these programs are MSDE approved completer programs. In your overview book, beginning on page 23, you will find additional details for the CTE programs. Please note that the locations that we have service students in the northern, southern, and central areas of the county. Our student-built house project also falls under the CTE programs. Creative and visual performing arts. Our CPA and VPA programs continue to thrive, with students receiving over $8 million in scholarships each year. The program promotes communication, creative and critical thinking, artistic excellence, and appreciation for cultural diversity. Our newest offering is at Northwestern High School as a VPA program. The Fire Emergency Medical Technician Cadet Program that we have at Charles Herbert Flowers in collaboration with the Prince George's County Fire Department. We graduated our first class last June of 2014, where 100% of those students graduated with at least one industry certification, and they were able to transfer up to 17 college credits to the college of their enrollment. I will now turn the presentation back over to Dr. Libby to continue with the selection-based programs.
We are pleased that Frederick Douglass High School was authorized in 2014 to become our 6th diploma program in Prince George's County Public Schools. The students are awarded over $6 million in scholarships each year from all of our high school diploma programs. Language immersion, compared to the slide on 12 that highlighted in-boundary immersion, this slide shows our lottery-based immersion programs. This year, we opened full Spanish immersion at Overlook and Phyllis E. Williams Elementary Schools. For Montessori, we currently have 3 sites: John Hansen, Robert Goddard, and Judith P. Hoyer. Each of our Montessori programs are members of the American Montessori Society, and we continue to expand opportunities. The Science and Technology program was established in 1976 and will be celebrating 40 years in school year 2015-16. Students in our science and technology programs continue to strive and received $37 million in scholarships last year. Please note that the list of our TAG centers is on page 15 in your overview booklet. Please also note that TAG services are available in every neighborhood school. And I would like to turn the presentation back over to Ms. Durant for our closing.
Thank you, Dr. Libby. This evening you heard about the vast array of programs offered to our students and their families. The staff do a fantastic job of managing the programs to ensure that they are of the highest quality. This includes recruitment and enrollment, monitoring and evaluating instruction, designing and developing curriculum. Despite their hard work and their best efforts, there still remain barriers to be broken. With regards to available seats, for many of the programs, there continue to be more applicants interested in the program than we have seats available. One way that we're addressing this issue is to ensure that specialty program offerings are available and expanding to our neighborhood schools. With regards to teacher capacity, our specialty programs require teachers to receive specialized certification in Montessori or certain industry certifications. They also may require language proficiencies. Identifying teachers with both the pedagogy and the specialized skills necessary for a successful specialty program can be challenging. However, working with our partners and our universities, we continue to secure highly qualified staff for our specialty programs. Also, as we look at enrollment diversity, when we analyze our student participation data in our specialty programs, we recognize that in some cases, our program enrollment demographics do not mirror our district demographics, particularly when we look at our farm students and our ESOL students. The evolution of our specialty programs has required an evolution in our community outreach efforts. This year, the Office of Family and Community Engagement was established, and by coordinating with this office and others in the district, we've improved our outreach to parents to make sure they're aware of the specialty programs offered to our students and their families. Specialty programs also face significant budget constraints. The maintenance and expansion of current programs, as well as our exploration of new programs, that has to be done with consideration to cost. Specialty programs often require additional staff with specific skills, transportation to and from the program, as well as customized facilities. Now, while it's important for us to share the barriers with you this evening, the staff is committed to removing those barriers for students and their families. As we look to the future, we will continue to offer options and opportunities for our children. The team is focused on moving beyond specialty programs being in a particular place or a particular school to ensuring that each child in PGCPS identifies what makes them special and giving them the academic and the social supports they need to be successful. To do that, to help our students to discover their gifts and talents, we will continue to enhance our neighborhood and school programs and expanding options to schools such as arts integration and languages, because specialty programs support students in discovering their purpose. Specialty programs enable students to pursue their passions. They provide our families with options, and they allow our students to explore. But most importantly, specialty programs help students to uncover what is special about them. We appreciate your continued support of specialty programs in Prince George's County Public Schools. We're going to continue to build upon the success of our existing specialty programs as we plan for the future. Thank you so much for your time and attention this evening, and we open the floor to questions from the board.
Thank you so much for that thoughtful presentation. I have Ms. Williams, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Epps. Anybody else wants to chime in, please let me know. Ms. Williams, yes.
Thank you. As a previous private school parent, let me tell you, I love this. This information that you presented today is amazing for us to know what we have to offer in PGCPS. My first question of a few is the purpose of this wonderful package here. Is this just for us? Or a better question is, what is your strategy for communicating this information to the parents in a timely fashion?
Thank you for that question. We have offered academic fairs in the county, and we've actually reached out this year not just to parents within Prince George's County Public Schools, but we've done a mass mailing to all households within the county to make sure that all parents, not just our current students, are aware of the opportunities that are available. We held those opportunities back in the fall, knowing that that was a great time to share the information as parents in the community are making their decisions about where to send their children. And so we continue to offer opportunities such as those, as well as working with the Office of Family and Community Engagement.
So I think that's very good to know, but it's still about putting it in the hands of those people that need it, when they need it. I think this presentation is very good. I'm not sure about the timing of it. This information, I think, is most important in the beginning of the year, because the opportunities for enrolling and the requirements for enrolling starts, I think, as early as November. So to have it now, it's good to know, but most parents will forget by the time you're ready to enroll and when those requirements happen. The one thing that I saw that was missing from this book was just that the timing of the application process and the requirements. I think that would be a good addition, and then this would be a perfect publication to put in the hands of or even have it really accessible on the website. While you were speaking, I went to the website just to see how well it matched, and there was a big disconnect, unfortunately. But I think dumping this information on the website, the way you have it there on a table with the timing, would be perfect. Therefore, if a parent misses the opportunities to hear about it face-to-face, they can go on the website and just pull it up immediately and look at all the options for their children. Because if you miss the language immersion opportunity at your kindergarten stage, then it's gone the rest of your school career. You can't get in it in first grade or second grade. If you miss the Montessori application process at the time when your child can apply, you've missed it for their entire career. So, and I think it's very important when you get to that 9th grade career academy, when you're now talking about a 4-year program, if you don't have this in front of those 8th grade parents, or even in the 7th grade, they will miss that opportunity their entire career. So you may change the trajectory of that person. So I think this is a wonderful publication.
That's great feedback, Ms. Williams. We talked about it as we built the presentation. The board set the time for when we were going to do this particular presentation, and as we developed it, we said, one of the things we knew was that the timeline is here, but we said we'll make sure this document is updated and put out for future years, so that we'll be, it's developed, so we won't just have it for this particular moment. We'll use it as a tool to make sure parents are informed about programs. So thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing publication. What is the strategy, or how far along are you on putting together a strategy for I think the word that you used was to evolve this into all of the neighborhood schools, or evolve some of the programs into the neighborhood schools. The one thing that I did notice, and now I'm putting on my District 9 hat, is that there are no schools in District 9 that have the arts integration program.
Speaking directly to the arts integration program, we're planning on expanding by 15 schools next year. And hopefully the budget comes through as we want it to. But we are planning on expanding those programs. So, and there will be a school, at least one school in all of the districts.
Well, you know, I'd love to see more than one, but I'm just going to throw out there at least one.
Right.
Possibly two. Because we do have the IB middle years and early years, so I'm very happy about that, to be a part of that group. Let me see. I think that's really, the one thing that I did notice on the website, and I don't know if you could do something about it. Well, I missed the Forestville Military Academy. That's still listed on the website. And so maybe that needs to be pulled off unless we bring it back. And so I'm speaking for my colleague who's not here today. But then the other thing is I didn't see anything in here about the international schools. And I don't know if that's because of the timing or what, but I didn't see anything about that in
Right,
here.
so we just presented the current existing programs that we had in play. Because the international programs are for next year, they were not included, but we do have that plan, that we did talk about that.
Okay, and that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. I'm actually a product of the Montessori program, so I know that these programs do work. I had two questions, actually. One was regarding the French Immersion, the secondary years program at Central High School. I see that the population is 1,085 in, of course, K through 8. But then the enrollment for school year 14-15, it was 54 students in the program total, which is about 13 students per grade level. I guess the question is, where are we losing those, or are the class sizes not big enough, or how is there that, I guess, the disconnect in between your 8th grade year into you not pursuing that French immersion track?
So students have choices. So some students decide to go to science and tech, aerospace, Academy of Health Sciences, and some do try to stay in the French immersion program. But we are trying to build the program in Central High School. That's why we put the IB, PYP, and MYP at French at John Hanson, so we can build that pipeline.
In the past, have you gotten any feedback about why students have decided to go through those other tracks and not continue what they started in their K through 8 years, or is that just
interest?
Understood. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you said that Frederick Douglass is now a diploma IB program. Does that take the IB program from 2 years to 4 years, or is it still a 2-year program?
MYP is 9th and 10th grade at Douglass, okay, and the diploma program is 11th and 12th grade.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So is it 4 years now at Douglass?
Yes,
okay,
it's 4 years, but the diploma program is 11 and 12.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I have Epps, Jacobs, Eubanks, Boston, and Burroughs.
I think I heard you say Epps. Good evening. Thank all of you for all of your work. Dr. Joseph, yeoman's job, great staff. I also want to give a shout out to my illustrious principal, who was featured in the video from Oaklands Elementary, right down the block from where I live. And she's doing awesome things with the children there, and they love her so much. And I also want to give a shout out to Dwight D. Eisenhower, who's the site for the IB Middle School. And I know that the instructor there and the leadership are really bending over backwards to make sure that program is up and running, and they meet when they are reviewed, they are able to remain. So I'm asking for continued support in those efforts to make sure that they have everything that they need. Okay, so questions. So in terms of the monitoring and the implementation process for the, or really the monitoring for the specialty programs, and I'm particularly concerned about Montessori. Can you explain kind of how that happens and where the staff is, and what type of monitoring happens to make sure that, particularly Montessori, because it is a special kind of program, it's different learning, it's a different pedagogy. How is that monitored to make sure that we're delivering that service with efficacy?
I'm going to ask Kia McDaniel, the supervisor for Montessori. She's coming up to respond.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Excuse me. The principals at the Montessori schools are obviously also certified as instructors with regards to the Montessori method, so they provide a lot of feedback to the teachers. We're also part of the American Montessori Society. That's where we get our certification with regards to our district, so we make sure that our teachers get the training that they need in order to implement the Montessori method. When new teachers are added to the Montessori schools, there's an intensive interview process, and we work with HR to make sure that those teachers have the strategies and skills they need to be successful.
How is the monitoring? How is that monitored to ensure that the staff is trained in Montessori and certified in that?
So that is mostly done at the school level. So there's not a central office staff that supports Montessori, and that Montessori is part of the international program staff, or part of international programs, but there's no immediate program coach or mentor at the central office level. That's done at the school level.
Is there a plan to provide that, given the importance of such a program and the fact that it's so unique?
As we're thinking about all of our programs, that's one of the things that our strategy team has been charged with. How do we make sure that monitoring of all the programs is done with fidelity? So it is something that we are talking about as we develop the strategy team plan. That will be one of the actions that we take. But we recognize, I think we've, in terms of capacity, we spent a lot of time building up programs and getting them run on, with minimal staff. But we've got to make sure that we can't just build them up. We've got to make sure that there's a quality control there as well. So we recognize that, and that was something that came up in the transition report, that we really do need to look at implementation and evaluation of programs.
Okay. Second question is about the feeder program. How many feeder programs do we have? Did I miss that somewhere in the presentation?
I'm sorry, to clarify a little bit, which feeder programs? There are several of the programs have feeder patterns. Are you talking about a particular program, or how do they all function?
Just as an overview again.
Sure. So some of our programs have a natural feeder pattern. So, for example, there was a question around French immersion and a continuity on to the French immersion program at Central High School.
Right.
We also have been building a pipeline at our elementary and middle schools to make sure that our students are well-rounded, so that they have the background that they need in the arts, in the humanities, and science and mathematics to be able to pursue any of our options that are available to them once they make it to the high school level.
So, Ms. Epps, that's one of the follow-ups to the strategy team as well. They're looking at over 5 years, identifying high school programs and looking at the feeders to go. So take IB for example. We have the six high school IB programs. So we're looking at what middle schools and elementaries will feed them as we go through a 5-year process. So we're looking at all of taking the high school programs to start and then building the middle school and elementaries. But that's the plan.
So the strategy is to start with what you have in the pipeline. Correct. Or like have on the shelf.
Correct.
And figuring out how to align it better, ramp it up, and all of that.
Correct.
And the timeline projection for that? that you see? I know it's, of course, it's dependent upon funding.
Right now, Dr. Maxwell charged us with looking at it over the course of 5 years. And then once we get that first phase done, then we could look at phase 2. And in the process, over that time, they'll be looking at what new and innovative programs would be added to the collection. But right now, we don't want to just have a hodgepodge of programs all around. We want to make sure that there's a clear, thoughtful process in terms of our investment, so we have a stronger return on investment.
So is there anything concrete, because you list these concerns on the slide 28, right? What your challenges are, what your barriers are, I think is what you referred to. Are there any solutions or strategies that have been identified at this point to, kind of hit the ground right now with what you have right now? Or even in terms of how does that translate into a needs assessment that that the board can take into consideration for future budget review?
So the team came together as of January of this year, and they are in the process of now just identifying the outcomes. By June, they are charged with having the actual plan fleshed out, but they've been meeting weekly, actually, to begin developing the plans and outcomes.
Okay. All right, I'll hold off until second round. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you. I just want to follow real quick to something Ms. Epps just said. If you look at the website, it directs parents to the Office of World Languages, and so it has immersion, it has TAG, it has creative and performing arts, and there actually isn't a steward or direct line for Montessori. So I guess as a follow-up in terms of making sure that there's follow-up around the certification piece. But my question, how do we, usually when I hear about how students are doing academically in specialty programs, it's always compared to the neighborhood programs, or the neighborhood school, I should say, which I think further kind of adds to the issue, if you will, for lack of a better way to characterize it. So my question is, are we actually testing the academic performance of students in specialty programs against the best practices for those programs, or are we just testing them against what's happening in a neighborhood school?
I'll start.
Oops.
No, I think that's a great assessment. I think one of the things and one of the reasons we focused in part of our presentation this evening is about the great things and the great work that is happening into our neighborhood schools, because we recognize that there's often that juxtaposition between specialty and neighborhood. And so we wanted to convey is that there are great things happening in all of our schools. And so when we look at the quality of our programming, which is a part of the strategy team's work, we're looking at not comparing it to a neighborhood school, but comparing it to a high-quality program that is similar in other districts. So we're not just, we want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, but also we want to make sure that we're not perpetuating the assumption that if it's not a specialty program, then there's not something positive happening.
If I could just, a couple of other, and again, I don't think it's consistent in every program would be my initial, reaction to that. I would say that part of, again, the strategy team talking about that monitoring and evaluation piece is there. But for some, it is absolutely true. So the International Baccalaureate certified as diploma program, the IB program comes in here and does site visits and evaluations, and they're the ones that certify that program. So, so we know that program meets those requirements of the International Baccalaureate organization. French immersion, for 2 consecutive years, I have, and Dr. Anderson and others have been at some of these programs. We are the only certified district to give the language exam for the French language in the United States. And our kids, there are a couple levels of that exam, and we recognize our kids who have met that certification. That's not comparing to anything. That's the certification exam for that. And so some of them really have a very structured way of doing that, and some of them I don't think our team is sure, and I'm certainly not sure that they have that same thing. But I do think the point is well taken, and as our team continues to evaluate that monitoring and structuring piece, some of them have a much better way of doing that right now, and others need some enhancement.
Thank you. But that also brings me to this question. So Saturday I have a meeting with a group of parents. They called the meeting, not me. But I'm happy to attend. And these parents are parents who have kids in private schools. And so I can say to them all day long that we're talking about expansion, et cetera, but the reality is we have a lottery, and there's no guarantee you're going to get in, right? So my question to you would be, what do I say to those, and you mentioned sort of inbound programs, you know, but my question would be, what do I say to those parents? Because oftentimes the other piece is that our dates for the lottery, the private schoolers are, entities are very smart around what happens in public school. So they make sure that parents have to pay the tuition before our lottery happens for the specialty programs. So if we're really trying to get them in, we need to play this, not play the game, but we need to strategize the same way. We need to make sure that we give those parents the real opportunity to actually get access to the program. So for example, last year, I had parents who were like, I'm this close. My kids were in private Montessori. I was in this program, and I'm like, they're #1 on the list, but their time doesn't match with ours, so they have to pay that tuition, and they lose their money if they pay it. What can we do about that?
Well, I can start, because I actually spoke with the organizer of that meeting as well, you know, this week, and what I told him, because as we talked and he told his story, I asked him had he visited his local high school, and the answer was no. And so the first thing I told him was, I'd recommend, you know, before you spend your money on a private school, go visit your local neighborhood school and speak to that principal, you know, walk through the classes and see what's there, but make an informed decision, because lots of times, unfortunately, parents make decisions without visibly seeing it. It goes on the rumor mill. You know, so step one is visit the school and be a judge for yourself. But then there is also the question of, you know, again, we have more capacity. I mean, we have more need than we do capacity right now, and that's something Dr. Maxwell has been passionate about trying to address.
And I think that was part of the reason why we've expanded seats in several of the programs that you're talking about immediately out of the gate. We expanded TAG, we expanded Montessori, we expanded French immersion because we know the waiting list is there. But the question is, you know, do we have the ability to do that everywhere? And some of the programs, as you saw tonight, some of them have different ways of getting in, right? Some of them are purely just a choice. This is what you're interested in. Some of them have a test and whatever. And so if they meet the criteria, that's one question that we also have to ask. Perhaps, you know, that is or isn't the case. But I do think it gets to this point of why we're talking about a 5-year plan. What we want to do is get to a point where, you know, students have options, and at the same time, as we made very clear, I think in our budget presentation a couple weeks ago, making sure that we're providing the additional resources to our neighborhood schools to make sure that if they're not on a specialty program, they can be assured that they have the same kind of resources and support that other schools have. So, you know, again, I think...
Yeah, I think it's really important for parents to have choice, but it shouldn't be, in my opinion, and to your point, because they feel they have no other option. It should be, I like this style of program, or I like this focus, as opposed to I have to go here because I can't go. And in one of those communities, you know, I have begged them to go to their neighborhood school, and they actually did, and they came back and said, I really want to go to a private school now. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute, you know, let's try to work it through. And I'm not saying that negative to our schools. Obviously, I know them better necessarily, but some, you know, we can't please everybody. I get that. But I really think that ultimately our goal has to be that it's a choice, because it's a option based on program, not based on I have no other choice.
And I agree, and I think again, part of the idea of putting multiple programs in our high schools, for example, is to say, here are multiple options for you, and there's something here for you, and if you're not interested in that, you know, again, trying to make sure that the traditional program that would be there anywhere isn't there, and also giving schools the opportunity to have programs that are, you know, not test-in, you know, for example, gives the schools an ability to have a high-quality program to compete, if you will, against our test-in programs or our more selective programs by having less selective programs. So it tends to say, well, if my only option is to go to that program and my school has nothing special or the program overall isn't what I think it should be, we need to correct those other pieces.
Yeah, and then this is the final piece. I mean, I'm all for choice district. I think I've said that over the years. But the final thing I would ask is that you do at least consider how we could possibly restructure the time for the lottery so that those parents who otherwise would come, you know, they might get in and decide they don't like that program, but they're in now, and they may go ahead to their neighborhood school. But if we can at least consider that in terms of the date and the timing when the private schools require them to pay their tuition. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Eubanks.
Dr. Joseph, I first would like to thank you for your leadership, and I'd like to thank your staff for the hard work. And I can't tell you how excited I am to see the arts integration portion being added, because I am a right-brained individual. I have always, if you bring it as an arts to me, that's how I get it. And so many of our students are the same way. And it's going to pick up those students that no other type of learning, they could really get it. And I'm excited for our students. I'm excited to see how excited the teachers were in the film, to give them another tool to be able to reach more of our children. And I just thank you for your work, and I'm excited to see what it's going to do. And I also have to mention one of my principals here, who was also in the film, Miss Gregory of Ardmore Elementary. Love you, Miss Gregory. And she's an art brain person as well, so we get along very well when I go to the school. We have fun. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm next, and then I got Boston Burroughs Anderson. I will push again as some other colleagues have. I definitely love our specialty programs, and I think that that the direction that Ms. Jacobs was headed is such a key one. And Dr. Joseph, you started with it. When I entered, both of my kids are products of the specialty program. I entered as a parent believing, like too many of our parents did, that if I get into a specialty program, I'm going to get a great education in Prince George's County Public Schools, and if I don't, I'm in trouble. So we have got to really change that culture, that belief, and that mentality. I got so many questions I could ask, but so I'll start with that, because I think that's one of the big barriers that we have, because I don't actually believe that there are so many more available seats than, I think the way the lottery is structured, I'm like all the other parents. I check off every single box. So we always think that we have all these available seats, but it's not really true. We should be having people knocking the doors down for these programs. And when I went, a parent just had this with me recently, the same experience. I went to, when my daughter was going to high school, we went to Suitland to their open house. Then we went to one of the private school open houses. And it was like, selling the corner store versus selling Tiffany's, right? It was night and day. I knew that Suitland was a brilliant program, but we don't do a good job selling ourselves. We don't do a good job in these open houses and in these other places really selling what, we need to pull out all the bells and whistles, bring out the band and bring out the principal and bring, when you go, it makes a big difference. So I think that barrier around us really selling how great these programs are is something real key. I'll stop with that and try to get in a couple of questions too. First, this is kind of the silly one, because I'm a big fan of arts integration as well. But arts integration sounds, among anything else, it sounds more like a curricular educational strategy than a program like so many of the other programs. So correct me, tell me the difference between just arts integration as good old-fashioned teaching versus a program.
Well, first of all, I want to say it is good old-fashioned teaching, but what we need to do is to make the connection. There's certain skills that the arts bring, and there's other skills that in the other content areas that all students need. This is a way to look at what skills are taught by both and taking what's best from both of the content areas. Students learn, it's a hands-on approach, as we know. Students learn better that way, but I'm not going to tell you that it's not good old-fashioned teaching, because when I was in kindergarten, that's what my kindergarten teacher did. I sang, I danced. Fortunately, I don't do that anymore. But those are the things the way we learn. So yes, it is, and it is very impactful.
The other issue I want to bring up and really ask about is this issue, you call it enrollment diversity, but it's really about equity. This is the equity issue. When I look at the list of career academies, you know, you could look at it and say that the more academic career academies are in the more high-performing schools, and some of the other academies are not. How do you deal with issues of equity like that? I already know from my own experience issues of equity even around the science and technology program, getting Oxon, Hill, and Flowers, everything that Roosevelt has. How do you deal with, what are the strategies you're really dealing with to deal with this issue of equity?
So since you mentioned career academies, I'll start with that. And one of the things we did around equity with the career academies, several years ago, we had the Phase 3 boundary hearings for those who were here some time ago. And we asked our communities what programs they were interested in. And as a result, we were able to identify 13 areas of interest. And what we've done with the career academies is ensure that every single of those academies are offered in every single cluster. So we've taken the 22 high schools and broken them down into 5 clusters, and we're ensuring that every academy is offered in every cluster, because it shouldn't matter if you're in the Beltway or outside the Beltway or in the northern part of the county or the southern part of the county, Fairmont House or Capitol Heights. All students deserve access to a high-quality education. So I can tell you from the perspective of the career academies in particular, just as one example, that we've tried to make sure that we have equity and access at the forefront of its implementation.
I love that idea, and frankly, the way that it would seem like that would have to work is if you do it in every cluster, you got to allow students to choose schools within that cluster based on the interest that they have in their career academies, right? And so I know we're a long way. Can I ask? I'm sure we're having those kinds of discussions and debates.
So I think that was actually part of the original plan. The question is whether it's affordable at this juncture, and whether, you know, we want to talk about them as for site-based only, you know, and have multiple ones at schools. So of the different academy options, some of our schools have 2 or 3. All of them have 1 now. Some of them already have 2 or 3. And so maybe you don't have a choice for every single one of them, but you have a choice for at least several of them. So again, I think that we are having the conversation. We're just not sure with the cost of transportation to almost make it a open enrollment, you know, district around clusters is going to add a lot of transportation money to the budget that doesn't necessarily get you better teaching or better neighborhood schools or better student outcomes.
I don't know. We'll fix that one. We'll fix that one.
We'll see.
I'm excited about having that discussion. All right, I'll stop. If I have any others in round 2, I'll go. I have Boston, Burroughs, Anderson, and Hernandez, and I have Jacobs up first in round 2.
Good evening. Yesterday I attended a kind of robust parent meeting at Flowers, and we kind of talked about some of these things yesterday. The conversation was very intense at times. And I think the concern that I heard from the parents at that meeting was that because we are trying to integrate 2 different types of programs, I think the Project Lead the Way and put it in with the STEM program. Is that correct? That the concern of the parents is that the integrity of the program, especially the Project Lead the Way program, as far as if you enter it in a lottery type of format, I think that's what we're leading to, or we're trying to do with that program, that because everybody can apply for the lottery, and that if we don't put some type of guidelines there as far as they have to have the test in the program, or they have to have a certain grade point average and to be able to into a robust program like a Project Lead the Way, that the program is going to lose something, or or lose students that really should be in that program, but because they didn't get the lottery, they're no longer eligible for that type of program. So I really want to know, as I talked to you about it yesterday, what can we do to guarantee that we're not going to lose that, intensity, the robust, or the type of students that need to be in that particular type of program? What can we do to do that? Because I know you said something about federal law and all a whole lot of things that was over top of a lot of people's heads. But I'm just afraid that their concerns were warranted for that. About that.
Great question again. Yesterday, we attended a project. Project Lead the Way is one of our Maryland State High School CTE completer programs. It is a pre-engineering STEM program that we originally brought into the county several years ago at 3 high schools at Flowers, Duval, and Northwestern. And under the Secondary School Reform, SSR, we have, and through the cluster model, we now went from 3 to 7 locations. And one of the things, as Mr. Rant said, is about equity and access. So career academies have an application, and from the application we pull a lottery, which the parents at Flowers had a concern because previously there were some vetting of students to see if they had the proper math and interest skills there. So as I stated yesterday, because it is a Project Lead the Way falls under the Maryland State Department of Education, CTE, we can't have a testing program like Science and Tech and Aerospace and Academy of Health Sciences because it falls under the federal Perkins grant. However, we've been working with our advisory board to develop that profile of a STEM student. So we're going to do a better job of informing parents and guidance counselors and students that these are the rigorous requirements of our STEM programs. So we've added several STEM programs in the last couple of years under MSDE. So we'll do a better job of vetting, let them vet themselves to say, okay, I know if I don't have this type of self-motivation, if I don't have these type of math skills and science skills, then maybe this isn't the place for me. And will offer other options. We also work, we have great partners with that Project Lead the Way, Lockheed Martin, University of Maryland College Park School of Engineering. So we've also built in very robust summer programs to bring them up to speed if they don't meet the qualifications. But as we also said in our presentation, there's a lot of evolution going on. So we're still working. Flowers hasn't been the only school that gave us some pushback with that for Project Lead the Way. So we'll take it back with some consideration. In my office, the Career Academy Programs Office, will work with the Secondary School Reform under the Teaching and Learning, and we may have to do some modifications, but right now we're just, our option is to just provide them with the supports to bring them up to speed. Yeah, because my concern is that, the lottery is open. Correct. It's just open, and unless, although we do middle college, it's a lottery process as well, but those students really have to pass a rigorous type of test to get into that Correct. Program. So I don't understand why we can't put that type of, whatever, I don't know the word, criteria for them to actually to get in that program. Because my fear is that you can tell parents and tell students, oh, this is real rigorous. Oh, I might be able to handle it. They go on and apply for the lottery. They get in the lottery, and they we sending them up to fail. Because it's like the STEM program, the Project Lead the Way is a really robust type of program. It is a very rigorous program. So I'm just afraid, I just don't want us to set kids up to fail by making them choose, to be able to go in through the lottery in a program they can't keep up with. Right. Well, one of the things Flowers is going to do this summer, they still will do the lottery process, and then for those students who are accepted into the program, they're going to give them a diagnostics exam as a further vetting and understanding, so they can do some more guidance after the lottery is done.
So then you open the lottery back up, or you go down the list to keep on doing that till you get the. Okay, so yeah, I think we need more work on that one to see how we can make this, the right program, a right fit for a lot of kids through the lottery process.
We'll definitely look into it and put the safety nets in place to make sure kids are successful.
Yeah, thank you.
Also want to thank you, Dr. Joseph, for your amazing work. Truly one of the most substantive education leaders that I've ever met. So, yeah.
Coming from an alpha, that means a lot to me.
It should. It should. That was good. Also, want to recognize that Dr. Feld is here in the back. When everyone stood up, you kind of didn't. So I just want to recognize you and thank you for your work as well. My question on page 19 of this package, the participation and selection based on programs by ethnicity, it breaks it out by ethnicity and also breaks out farms. I'm really interested to hear, though, the special education portion. There are tons of special needs students that I know for a fact will benefit from these programs. My question, I would like to see how many, your percentage of special needs students, and I would like to hear what you're doing to make sure that they're successful, whether it's in CTE, whether it's in science and tech, whether it's in immersion, whatever it is.
Well, good evening. I'm Joan Rothgeb. I'm the Executive Director for the Department of Special Education, and I am very proud to join my colleagues in this presentation. And I'm very appreciative of bringing this population into the conversation, so thank you for raising the question. So students with disabilities are encouraged to apply and participate in the programs. It's not specific to special educators doing anything. It's specific to all of us encouraging our students with disabilities and students with IEPs. So we work very closely with our guidance counselors in the application process and in helping them to connect with our students with disabilities and make appropriate and have appropriate conversations with our students with IEPs and encourage them to apply. Of course, all of the accommodations and modifications that are appropriate in the application process are provided. We work with schools and we work with our parent organizations to encourage our students. So I think some of you are familiar with our partner, our Special Education Citizens Advisory Council, and we work with them as parents to help them understand what opportunities are provided or are out there for our students with disabilities. Once in the specialty programs, our students with disabilities are entitled to all of the provisions of FAPE that are accorded them within the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So their IEP will be implemented, their services will be afforded them, and again, accommodations, all the specialized instruction that they would get in our comprehensive schools are provided in our specialty schools.
So as a follow-up, we'll be sure to get you that information, and we'll update the document that we have as well.
So thank you, Dr. Joseph. Sure. The data that you're asking for, we have data for students with disabilities by disability for every one of our schools. And because all of our schools offer specialized instruction, I have the data by school, by disability, and those receiving specialized instruction. So it will be quite easy to disaggregate that for you and for the group for specialty programs.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I know a lot of parents that I've talked to don't believe that their students can participate in specialty programs, and so that they don't apply. Or some of the teachers might not believe that they can meet the needs of the student's IEP in a specialty program, so they encourage the parent and the student not to participate. And if the specialty programs can accommodate students with IEPs, then it's important that we let the parents know.
Yes. So I appreciate that. Every student with an IEP, as you know, has an annual review conference, an IEP conference. And of course, parents can request an IEP conference at any time. And I think those would be a good opportunity. That would be a good opportunity for us to share with parents. These are the specialty programs that are available to our students. So each student with an IEP has a case manager. So the case manager is one that would help to facilitate that conversation with the parent and with the student. And in fact, they are responsible for communicating with all of the teachers and the guidance counselors about the strengths and the challenges of each of their students. So I think that's a very good suggestion that the conversations occur at least annually during the IEP conferences.
Thank you. I know my time's running out, so I'll be very quick. So I would also like to see the participation, but also performance. So I know each individual specialty program has their own measure of success. I would love to see how the students with special needs are performing to ensure that they're actually getting that support that they need to be successful. My second question, or I guess my second topic, rather, I don't know if this is for Dr. Maxwell, for Dr. Joseph, Dr. Felder, who this question might be posed to. In the context of in the conversation of the international schools, we talked a lot about using specialty programs as a hub to support and learn best practices to spread throughout the system. And we have a list of specialty programs here. And I would be interested to hear, I guess maybe even you, Latifah, what have you learned in each of these programs, and how are you using what you've learned of these best practices to support and spread over, the wider district?
So I'll start us off. The Career Academies programs are up for evaluation coming, is it this year? This year. One of the things we have been talking about is the need to evaluate our programs and have formal evaluations. Right now, we don't have lots of evaluation data, but it is needed because we're putting an investment in these programs, so we need to know what are we getting in terms of a return on them to be able to share out. But we have talked about ensuring that our program evaluators do look at our programs over time.
I'd be interested to see how you use those best practices to benefit the rest of the school district. Mm-hmm. And I guess my last point, because I know the buzz is about to ring, I know you've worked on this for years, and I know you're very happy to be at this point. And I just wanted to applaud you, Mr. Rant. I'm going to send Dr. Height this tape. He would be so proud of you because you've really been working on this for such a long time. So thank you for your work.
Good evening. First, I want to commend all involved for the breadth of the specialty programs and the quality of them. I certainly appreciated the quality of your presentation today. I do have a few questions. I am concerned about, excuse me, and my questions, some of them have been answered already, but I am concerned about feeder programs, and especially as they relate to STEM programs. We have the 3 major STEM programs. So I am concerned about the efforts that we have taken or are now taking to ensure that we have our kids ready for the high school STEM programs. And I think it's a concerted effort. I want to expand it just a little bit, being a math person myself and having dealt with this issue for many, many years. The suggestion would always be to take as much math as you can and make sure that there are enrichment programs. Even if you don't want to go, you decide you don't want to be in a specialty program, you're still going to be better prepared for the future. So I am very concerned about the efforts that we're taking to ensure that our children qualify for the specialty programs, especially the STEM programs that tend to be, a little more rigorous to get in if you have not gotten the proper background prior to high school. That's one.
So I'll let Sean finish, I think maybe, but I'll start. Much like International Baccalaureate, we feel pretty strongly that we need to create support underneath the programs. The high school programs are sitting there just as the IB high school programs are. But you're right, when we got here and we looked around, we're like, where is that preparation that says, so we've started two, it's Oxon Hill Middle and Thomas Johnson, I think, middle school STEM programs. That was the start. We intend to expand that so that we have support around the county for those programs. And I would add that in my experience, you can be very successful at what we call co-curricular or supportive activities in elementary school, things like math clubs, robotics clubs, and other kinds of opportunities for kids to start growing that interest and that talent at the early grades. And so, each one of the Title I schools, I'm told, is already starting some of that work. So our hope is that we'd have a very broad opportunity with arts integration, with math, with robotics, opportunities for kids really coming up. The problem is, we've only been through one year of, the planning and getting things up and going, but that's, again, what the 5-year plan is about.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right. I mean,
it's excellent. I was just so happy to read about Math Month next month. And I thought, wouldn't it have been so nice to have a part of Math Month in March 14th in particular, 3.14. Pi Day. 1.5. Pi Day. And, to just get kids excited about mathematics. That has been one very exciting project in several schools across the country and in universities, to get kids excited about the math. And if they're excited, they'll pursue it. They think it's fun, etc. The other question that I had was regarding the percentage of students who are actually Prince George's County Public School students that qualify for the STEM programs, high school STEM programs. What kind of makeup do we have in the high schools, in those STEM high schools? Do we have, primarily students who have gone through middle school or, elementary, middle school in Prince George's County, or do we have kids coming out of private and parochial schools going into the high school STEM programs? Who is qualifying?
I'll turn it over to Dr. Libby.
Anybody know that, or do we need to get that to them?
We'll have to get the details to you, but we do have a mix of students in our high schools, but we don't have the exact ratio of private to Prince George's County Public School students.
Thank you so much, Dr. Whitey. Because the other concern that I have is we could look at the characteristics of those students who actually qualify for the STEM programs. Pay attention to which schools they come from. And that might throw some light on what we might want to do to get our own grown to be qualified for the programs. But I see that. Also, the presentation, I think, to the board is just a great one. But I, as a parent, would be looking for, how do I get my kids prepared? So what are the prerequisites of this program, if there are any? But how do I get my kids prepared? And I want to know, how do we think we can get our kids prepared for the STEM program? And I wouldn't start in the 8th grade because it's too late. I want to start in elementary school to know what I need to do to get them ready, so by the time they get to the 9th grade, they're ready. So that's
I'd say it starts, I think, we believe if we can implement the Common Core with fidelity and high quality, we believe our kids will be college and career ready and be prepared for any program that we want to get them into. But that is our charge, and that's the basis of the work that we're proposing in our strategic plan. How do we fully implement with fidelity that level of depth of understanding for all children?
Oh, I think that's great. And I think we might want to put that on, if we download this piece, which I think is a great piece, if we download this piece, then we might want to have a message for parents or students on how to prepare for the various specialty programs. Okay. Be helpful. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Ms. Hernandez.
Good evening. I, too, like Mr. Taylor, who left us, am a product of the specialty programs. I went to Eleanor Roosevelt High School and graduated from the Science and Technology program. So I'm very excited to see that there are opportunities for more of our students to be participating in these specialty programs. Many of my questions have been asked and answered, so I appreciate that. But the one question I did have was in regards to community partnerships. I'm kind of more interested in knowing how these relationships come about. Are they solicited? Do they come to you wanting to, be a member of the program?
So every year we hold a business partnership breakfast. That's one way that we do outreach to our business partners existing to acknowledge their contribution as well as to reach out to other business partners. And depending on the particular program and what the needs are, we look for business partners to fit the need of that particular program. So for example, if you talk about our language immersion programs, there are partnerships with embassies. If you look at our Career Academy programs, there are partnerships with employers to provide internships or guest speakers or job shadows. If you look at our arts integration programs, there are partners around that. So the partners that we go after are specific to the needs of that particular program, as well as for our Career Academy programs and our CTE programs, we have advisory boards, and those advisory boards are made up of industry partners to help to support the work that's going on in their respective programs. So it's both a combination of us reaching out to partners to bring them in to partner with us regarding a particular program, as well as those who hear the great work that we're doing, who come to us and say they would like to partner with one of the programs that's currently being offered.
Great, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
All right, I have Ms. Jacobs. Oh, I didn't see you, Loopy. You have to wait till round two. You want to go, Loopy, first?
She changed her name.
She yields to you.
I guess I thank you again for this presentation and all the hard work. And it is really exciting to be able to, Dr. Anderson and I were here just speaking quietly to each other. Like, this is just really great to see this all packaged together. But to piggyback on what Dr. Anderson mentioned, I think it's really important to really, and maybe is already done or being strategized around the communication it goes back to also what Ms. Carolyn mentioned about setting up our children for success and being able to give the options and communicating that earlier on. Even I'm all into like just even elementary school years, just being able to, for me as a parent, I want to know what does it take so that my child can have those options. And I'm sure other parents that a lot of times opt out to do private schools, that kind of communication can set a clear pathway that, oh, I can do this and do that. Often, too, if a student is rejected, let's say from TAG, what you get is just you're not accepted. It does not explain. It does not explain. It does not give hope, and it does not explain what can be done for that child to continue to work towards that option. And so I would like to just hear from you all about your thoughts about why is that the case? Or because I would think it would be really great to say, this can be built on that instruction or whatever. So it creates that interaction with the parent and that partnership to really be able to set up our children for success and create those options that we're seeking.
One of the things that we've done, we've started a partnership with our guidance counselors because a lot of the direction for our students and our parents begins with them. If a student isn't tag identified, that doesn't mean they have no hope. A lot of times there are many opportunities for our students. We need to do a better job of explaining to parents what the options are to help build their students. I, for one, never had a tag identification, but that didn't stop my teachers from pushing me, challenging me, and opening up doors for me. And I think we need to let our students know and our parents know that there are opportunities, and it doesn't begin there. So if the mathematics is weak, we need to point out, what areas they need to work on. If the reading isn't strong, then we need to let parents know, you know, what are the supports that they need to have. And I think that's one of the things I do like about the Common Core. As we've been building strong curriculum, we've been building strong parent pieces, because without parents being our partners to help our students, then they don't progress. And just because you don't get in tag at 2nd grade doesn't mean you might make tag at 3rd grade. We have an identification process every single year. And so as long as we keep giving that information to parents, then they will know that, you know, this is not the end of having a good career or being truly college and career ready.
And I think just to build, to asking that question, what do I say to a parent that their child is performing excellent? You know, they are concerned that their child is actually getting bored, you know, and they also have requested for that tag screening, and it hasn't happened.
Then first of all, we need them to have a conversation at the school level, and if they still aren't getting the support, the school can always contact us for guidance. We have gone out to evaluate situations, to recommend opportunities and activities to challenge students. There isn't anything in the TAG curriculum that any child can't take advantage of. There's no reason why, if a child wants to be challenged, we shouldn't offer that opportunity. But we need for them to just reach out so we can help support and provide guidance.
Thank you so much.
All right, now round 2, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you. It just occurred to me that for our specialty programs, we often have, well, we have 3- and 4-year-olds who are admitted. How does that impact? Do we get, since that's considered preschool age, do we get per pupil cost for them because they're in the tradition? No, not for 3 and 4 years. So we still don't get for them because it's considered. And so I guess that also brings me to how does SBB then impact, maybe in a different way, the specialty programs? Because so on one hand, they're not getting funding for 3- and 4-year-olds, and then as the 6 and yes.
Right, but we do provide them funding for specialty programs.
Right, but like, so I guess I'm saying, and I don't know if they obviously don't fall within the small school category, but what about, they have the same options. You could have one language program that just the principal decides to have a media specialist on that extra whatever, and another one that they don't. You're saying they're across, is just treated the same way, regardless of them being a specialty program.
So they would get their regular amount for SBB, but then we also provide supplemental additional funds to support that specialty program.
Okay, so they do get SBB plus.
Correct.
And then the principal
additional
still
lock
decides.
positions.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, so let me make sure. And then I know everybody wants to be gone by 7:30 almost. I would just say this, you know, as I kind of phase out really, I mean, just putting in another plug for, and I know it takes work and it would take, you know, real research on doing it, but our district, in my opinion, I've seen districts that don't do well with choice. I mean, it's just not a good idea, but, oh, I'm sorry. But, you know, in a district like ours where parents are consistently talking about specialty programs versus neighborhood schools, I mean, how fabulous would it be to at least do a study on what that would look like for a district like ours? And so that parents, it's like this newfound, now I've been talking about this for years, so maybe it'll take off at some point, but kind of this newfound energy around the public schools because they get choice options. And you're right, transportation in I think we're the largest or second largest for transportation costs, but you know, I'm thinking like hubs or something like that, but it's just one of those things that I think is another way to consider our district in light of the demographics that we have and in light of the challenges we have around how parents view the district. Just another plug.
Thank you, Ms. Epps.
Thank you. One of my colleagues, I think it was Vice Chair, who talked about guidance counselors so I just want to talk about that because there is a shortage or, you know, we don't have enough. And guidance counselors tend to be taxed with so much, and I just kind of wanted to, as you're looking at the 5-year plan, but even as what you're seeing right now, you know, what type of capacity building are we going to need? Because it seems like it's already a lot for guidance counselors, and, you know, we're ramping up. So what's the plan in terms of guidance counselors who will be, in a lot of cases, the arbiters of the information and getting out there to students and, you know, and sharing information about different profiles and that kind of thing?
All right, so we meet with our guidance counselors monthly. You know, they come together, and this will be a priority, and it is a priority for the district. We don't think it's too much or more, you know, for them to do. It's a part of their job to be able to effectively, you know, guide students in the right direction and doing that work. But
yeah, but do we have enough of them?
Do we have enough guidance counselors? well, I
think like in a lot of situations, if I could help my colleague, we don't meet the standards for. You know, we don't meet the recommended standards of the Guidance Association, just as an example, but do we have comparable to other districts our size and our population and things? I think we're fairly close. I think we're much closer to that. I think you could say the same thing about a lot of others. I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that, sir.
Well, I would just say good evening. I would, right here. Hi. Our ratios are higher than the standards for ASCA, but we do have good capacity with our counselors and working with students and schools to help all our students get through these career pipelines, be ready for college and careers. Capacity, could we use more counselors? We probably could use more of everybody throughout the district. But I think what's important is if we start looking at how we streamline our work around priorities, around service for students, to ensure that every student gets every opportunity it needs through guidance and counseling, academically, socially, emotionally, etc., then we stand a good chance of making sure that even with high ratios, we're serving every student appropriately.
Okay. I want to, Dr. Anderson talked about math and being math ready. I just see so many opportunities for us to really kind of take the lead nationally on some things. And without having checked, you know, my latest Ed Weekly reports or whatever, we might not be in the lead on this. However, I'm still going to put it out there. I've been wanting, and I've even floated this at my college, because I think that there is something to be said about math and children's relationship to math, and the fact that we as adults keep allowing children to perpetuate this myth about the type of thinking that happens for math versus everything else. I'm not a math person. Me and math don't get along. I can't do math. And so wouldn't it be really cool if our illustrious CEO took math by the ears and said, gosh darn it, you know, Prince George's County Public Schools, our children can do math, we know math, we love math, and even if that's not what we do moving forward in terms of our careers, we're gonna have the basics, we're gonna get around this, and in a campaign to say, if we're trying to, if great is what we're looking for, greatness is in us. It's already there. We have everything that we need. And we're going to take this bull by the horns, and we're going to, you know, put it out there. We know that, you know, math skills is a key indicator in terms of pathways to success in college as well as career, even if you don't go into a STEM field. You know, even if you are an artist or if you're a designer. I know a lot of ex-engineers who are now doing what they really love, and they're designing clothes, or they're making music. And so it has, you know, it has that. So I think that we can get ahead of that, and I just wanted to put it out there as a potential campaign. I think that we can do that, and I hope that you will consider that. Finally, really quickly, one more from world of higher education. I just was wondering, with regard to specialty programs and letting parents know, with regard to, like, in higher education, when we talk about transfer, we have 2 transfer events every school year. I'm coming. So can we do that with specialty programs? Will we host specialty program marketing campaigns? We do that. We do that, the big one at the beginning of the year. Do we do it again?
Yes.
Okay, so then there you go.
Okay, thank you. Aside from me just giving a good, strong second to Ms. Jacobs' suggestion about exploring choice, I love it. We don't have any further questions, so thank you very much for a great presentation and the great work that you're doing. All right, so good night, everyone. Oh, wait, business. Wait, we still have...
She looks like she's about to have that baby, so we need to let her go home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, don't. Let's go to consent agenda item 5.2. We've moved 5.1, so I'm going to yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of consent agenda items 5.2 through 5.8.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Members of the board, items 5.2 to 5.8 are before you for electrical service easement for Akakik Academy, proclamations commemorating National Autism Awareness, Earth Day, mathematics awareness, and school media, renewal of facility use agreements for Imagine Morningside and Seed Public Charter Schools.
May I have a motion to approve items 5.2 through 5.8 under the consent agenda?
So moved.
It has been moved. May I have a second? I did. Moved and second. Dr. Anderson?
First, I just want to just say again how important it is for us to have this Math Awareness Month. Mathematics, you know, is the hub of the sciences, and Galileo has told us that it is the alphabet with which God has written the earth. So we'll leave here talking about how great math is today. But I'm concerned, I'd like to know if there are any special activities. Are the schools charged to do anything special during the month of April for Math Month?
So all schools received a memorandum indicating the additional resources and activities that are available, and they're all strongly encouraged to acknowledge and celebrate. But we make sure that from the district level, we give them resources that they can utilize to better celebrate and give kids opportunities. Yeah.
You know, I looked at your materials for summer work for students, and you gave for at least the 4th grade, you were giving a problem a day or something very close to that. I thought it was very exciting. And I do know that the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics puts out a calendar of math problems. Just consider that during the month of April, maybe there could be a problem a day, you know, some activity that everybody could be involved with during that period might stimulate the kind of interest in math that you want to see. And maybe that would be a springboard for something else in the future. So I certainly endorse that, as well as the other proclamations, but just to go beyond a proclamation to some action. And then the other concern that I have is it appears that 5.7 and 5.8, although we have no problems with them, they appear, there is a chance that they might impact the budget. So I was wondering, why are they not listed under the budget consent agenda? And, you know, if we look at the renewal, the contract kind of speaks to what will happen if the charter schools are not able to pay the rent, whatever, and that there could be some financial ramifications to the schools. Just a question, as I had a question about 5.1, that appeared to be an item that with the summary, budget summary, to be a budget consent agenda item. So I just want to draw your attention to those three, and wonder that if in the future, when we're dealing with a renewal of contracts, renewals that might impact our budget, that we put them under the budget consent agenda. Okay?
Ms. Williams, you have a question?
Well, I have a request on items 5.8 and 5.7. Can we get a list of the charter schools and when their facility agreements are coming up in the future, and when their charters are coming to us in the future? Can we get a list of those, just so that we can be prepared for them coming to the board?
Yes.
All right, I see no further questions. Again, we're voting on items 5.2 through 5.8 on the budget consent, on the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. We'll move on to the budget consent agenda. I will yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of items 6.1 through 6.7.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Items 6.1 through 6.7 are on the agenda for the approval of the following: an increase in the overall number of authorized permanent positions for fiscal year 15, final payment and acceptance for ceiling and lighting replacement at Crossan High School, realignment and provision of additional funding for several projects, a change order for work at J. Frank Dent Elementary School, an easement and right-of-way request by Mattawoman Energy LLC, maintenance and a maintenance covenant for Friendly High School stormwater best management practices facilities, and an energy performance contract.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve items 6.1 through 6.7 under budget consent?
So moved.
May I have a second? It has been moved and seconded. Ms. Williams.
My first question is regarding item 6.03, the realignment of the additional funding. There appears to be just a slight error in the calculation of the amount of funding that we need versus where the funding is coming from. On the board action summary, it doesn't quite equal up to what we're actually needing in the backup. It's like a few $1,000 difference. So I just wanted to point out that, because it says we're asking for $12,133,256, but that's not actually what you're listing here under each of the projects. The previous approved funding, the forward funding projects, and previously approved FY16. There just seemed to be just a slight error of a few $1,000s that I think before we fully approve it, we should probably get that corrected. On the easement for, I guess that's item 6.05, for the Mattawoman Power easement, we're allowing them to have the easement, and I'm okay with that. It's just that I would like to see how this works out, where it fits on the property itself. I don't know if we could have like a site plan with not a lot of information just to show where it goes, even though it says this will not adversely impact the school nor the site, blase, blase. If I get a question about that from a community person, I couldn't tell them anywhere on the site where it is exactly, where this work will happen, where the easement is granted or anything. So I just would like to see a site plan for that. But I'm okay with approving it. and that was it.
Thank you. So are you going to talk about this, whether or not there's an error? I just did it. Yeah, it's like $4,000. $4,000. When I added them up, maybe it's something we're missing.
If you can explain or maybe point me in the right direction, where's the error? Because I believe the documents we shared with the board, there's a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet in the back that shows 12.133256 million.
It's on the board action summary.
And the board action summary.
Just the board action summary.
Right, it's on the board action summary, so we'll go back and review and correct.
Okay.
Right, because board action summary has up to 12/129/256. When you add up the numbers that are on the front page of the board action summary. So the board action summary is incorrect. The final number of 12/133/256 is correct. Okay. All right. Good. All right. Thanks. Ms. Jacobs.
Oh, I just was, are you ready to vote? Is anybody else calling? Well, I just wanted to, I don't really have a comment about it. I just wanted to vote no on the energy performance, but just have staff reflect that in the minutes and aye on everything else. I didn't want to like create a whole separate whatever.
All right. Makes sense. You got that? All right. Seeing no other questions, then we will go to call the roll. Ms. Parker. You could say, you could say no. We're doing 6.1 through 6.7.
6 to 6.
Was 6.3, is it amended or as corrected?
6.3
as corrected.
6.3 as
Yes.
as corrected.
Okay.
Right. The dollar amount doesn't change. They just had a mathematical error in the summary sheet that they'll fix. Right. Right. So it's accurate. The thing is, on the detail sheet in the back, what we're saying is it's accurate.
Right.
It's accurate.
Yes.
So they just need to fix the math error. Right. There is a math. They're missing a $4,000 figure somewhere in there that they got to correct. Right. No. So all of the line items are the same. They just need to find $4,000. Do you want to pull it and do that and wait? Do you want? I mean, or are you okay with them finding the $4,000?
And the resolution page is correct that you're going to sign off on.
The resolution page is correct.
Correct. We'll go back on the board action
But the
summary
board
sheet
action
and
summary,
correct
which is
that.
not the actual motion anyways, is incorrect, and you'll fix that. Is that okay with you? Is that cool? Okay. That's my make.
The minutes will reflect 6.3 as corrected.
6.3 as corrected.
Yes.
So 6.1 through 6.7, which with 6.3 as corrected.
Where's 6.7?
6.7 was the old 5.1 that we moved by amendment in the beginning of the meeting.
Gotcha.
All right. No, not yet. We might have some more. Just be patient, Tiffany. Okay. Okay, now you can go.
Thank you. Dr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Burrows? Ms. Epps? Ms. Eubanks?
Aye.
Ms. Grady?
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez?
Aye.
Ms. Jacobs?
Yes on 6.1 through 6.6 and no on 6.7.
Dr. Kaufman? Mr. Valentine? Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor? Sorry, scratch that because he can't vote anyway. Ms. Boston?
Aye.
Dr. Eubanks?
Yes.
Ten ayes on 6.1 through 6.7. 6, and then the one no for 6.7.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That motion carries. All right, we have nothing on the first readers or new business, and there are no follow-up items required from the February 24th meeting. So it looks like if folks are interested, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait a minute. Don't.
You need to confirm the actions taken in executive
Oh, yeah.
session.
Oh, I did. Okay. Oh, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. I was going to do that after we adjourned, but that's not the right order. It's not the right order. I will entertain a motion to confirm actions taken in executive session on Thursday, March 12th.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. It's been properly moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve actions taken in executive session on March 12th and are as follows: personnel appointments, legal matters, and administrative matters. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Am I missing anything else from the agenda? Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. May I have a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. All right, we are adjourned. Have a good evening.